Good morning, Internet. My name is Jay, and today I want to talk to you about my predictions for the Amazing Digital Circus before Episode 8 comes out. As you know, the trailer came out a couple days ago, and
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness! Squidward!
So, yeah, Episode 8's trailer just dropped, and I got some theories to share on what the series is even going to do going from here. While I plan on making a review of the full series once Episode 9 comes out, this video has been something I've been planning for a while, as I really want to make my final predictions just in case I'm right. But with all that said, let's just get right into this. Alright, so the official trailer itself starts off with this old-timey on-screen narration about a little AI who just wants to be loved but ruins everything in the process. Cain. It's Cain. Or is it? The trailer then follows with pure chaos as he seems to be trying desperately now to regain everyone's trust after Episode 7. But what got my attention more than anything else shown in this trailer was something that other fans were quick to point out. Some abstracted characters are visible here. I didn't mention this before in any of my other reviews, but guys, I am obsessed with the abstracted characters like you wouldn't believe. Literally, the one thing I want so badly from this series might be coming in this next episode through flashbacks or something far worse, and I am so ready for it. This is also backed up by the fact that Ribbit actually has a confirmed voice actor that we know of, and Zubal's VA mentioned knowledge of Ribbit that we as an audience don't have yet. This isn't just another fan theory now, and the hints in the trailer solidify that even more. Aside from all this though, not a lot of readable things happen here as with any other teasers they give on these episodes. The circus is in bad, glitchy shape with Kane's deteriorating mental state. Kinger seems to be way more aware, which I'm actually really hyped for, and everyone involved just looks completely terrified. Hey, that's almost gonna be like you guys when I upload my birthday video. Towards the end, we also see even more shots of the CNA office, so I guess that saga didn't just end with Episode 7. Another minor detail I should note here is that the thumbnail and title are completely different from any other episode teaser so far. The title is straightforward with no exclamation points or capitalization, and the thumbnail is Kane doing the Truman Show thing. Now, whether this is a clever hint of the fact that Kane feels just as stuck in this digital hell as the rest of the cast, or it's just a neat little reference is totally up to speculation right now. For now though, I think we've talked about the trailer long enough here, and I'm more than ready to make my predictions for Episode 8 itself. When it comes to the plot of Episode 8, I'm actually quite scared and excited at the same time for how this is gonna unfold. I'm excited to finally see the abstracted characters and scared for how the actual hell they plan on wrapping all this up in just 2 episodes, or if it'll even have a satisfying conclusion at that. For the abstracted cast, I feel like there's 3 separate ways they could go about doing this. One is that Kane will actually reveal out of nowhere that he can just unabstract a good chunk of the people in the cellar, which is probably the least likely theory given every piece of evidence we have to work with. 2 is what I initially thought this episode was going to be, one big flashback episode where we get to see everything that happened before Pomni arrived in the circus. Option 3 though is my personal theory, which is that the episode will focus on Kane trying to make everyone like him again by bringing back the old characters. And by bringing back, I mean Kane literally recreating the abstracted cast members as NPCs based on how he remembers them. We know he can do stuff like this because he literally created a whole rival team for them to go against in Episode 5, and Abel was darn near close to being a believable human. How well Kane succeeds at this specifically, though, really depends on how screwed up the writers want to make this episode, and judging by everyone's faces in the trailer, I'm guessing these NPCs are going to be straight up husks of their former cast. Of the form. This option would also be the best way to finally give us a glimpse into how these characters acted before they kicked the bucket, while still keeping some mystery alive since they'd be like caricatures of their former selves. A lot of people were also speculating that the cast will actually go somewhere else in the circus grounds in this episode, but I feel like the trailer is giving us quite the opposite. The entire thing is contained within the circus, and you can even spot a strange portal opening up here, so I think it's safe to say that the cast will be going on an adventure to somewhere completely different this time. That, or it'll just be another in-house adventure. Another quick thing I also want to mention in regard to Episode 8, and really the rest of the show's plot, is that the red and blue foreshadowing doesn't seem to have stopped here. A lot of people saw Kane's glitching in Episode 6 and all the other references to red and blue as foreshadowing for this scene in Episode 7, but I think it goes much deeper than that. You can see both red and blue flashing, as well as the CNA office clips that I mentioned before, so I'm going with the theory that Episode 7's ending was nothing but a mere red herring. In conclusion, though, I think episode 8's plot will go something like this. Kane reveals that he can alter the minds of the cast members in episode 7, leading into episode 8, where Kinger becomes a lot more self-aware as the final piece of his memory comes back to him. After this, the cast ends up in a conversation about the abstracted characters as they can now ask more from Kinger, but Kane overhears all this and thinks, hey, I know what I can do to make them like me again. What if I bring back those people they're talking about? This would then plunge the episode into full chaos as they encounter these walking corpses of their friends, and Kane attempts to show them all the amazing things he can do in the circus. The episode could then end with something actually happening to Kane, whether he abstracts or the cast just finds some way to actually get rid of him without crashing the whole circus or accidentally putting Bubble in charge. As for what the red and blue colors mean, I think that's something that'd go better with the next segment here. That's right, the burning question that I think I've pinpointed the answer to. How is this series even gonna end? We know nothing about episode 9 yet, so everything going from here is gonna be pure speculation based on what we have right now. The main theory I have that's been slowly developing since at least episode 4 is that the circus itself was something the cast chose to enter. I know that sounds crazy, but just hear me out for a couple more minutes before I wrap this up. Each character in this show has some sort of underlying issue. For example, Pomni's anxiety, Zoopal's body dysmorphia, Gangle's depression, Jax's self-consciousness, and the list just goes on. If you look at the series with this in mind, it feels like the circus itself was never made to torture the cast or let them have fun. I think the digital circus was made as some experimental form of therapy. The people we see here, except for maybe Kinger, were all participants for this program where you could simply forget everything else and have a sensory room environment to focus on self-betterment. And just in case anything goes horribly wrong, abstraction could have originally been created as a safer alternative to handle death. Scientifically speaking, the human brain does replay significant memories as you fade away, so I think if we put these events in some alternative futuristic timeline, then the technology would allow for abstraction to be like a safer way for someone to leave this plane of existence. I mean, obviously the horribly mangled monsters that chase the characters around are some kind of glitch, but I think you're starting to get what I mean. In the digital circus, you either overcome your personal issues in this environment that lets you take a breather from your normal human life, or you become enveloped in the dreamlike state and blissfully fade away. This would also fit Kane pretty nicely here as this guide that was originally supposed to help characters through their problems, putting everything together like one big puzzle. The only issue to really come out of all this is that there would need to be someone on the outside managing everything like a nurse or moderator. My theory, if all this is true, is that whoever was managing things either forgot about the program and never bothered to shut it down, or everyone involved was just left behind in this thing. Maybe it wasn't so easy to abstract when Kane was still doing his job correctly under management, but for whatever reason, all this was forgotten in some abandoned CNA office computer alongside fragments of the original participants. That's right, I'm taking a page from MatPat's book here and saying that these characters are not the humans who initially entered the program, but rather digitally copied manifestations of their mental illness. If abstraction itself isn't death for a human hooked up to this program, then it could have also been a deletion or transfer for their digital avatar back to them. But without a human mind to go back to, the abstracted characters instead become this glitchy mess that can even cause that same glitch to infect other characters. The only way to truly escape the circus in this case then would be for the characters to either all abstract together or finally overcome their personal issues, with the only downside being that both options would delete them. This could then lead to a bittersweet ending, even heartbreaking one, where we get confirmation that the original participants are okay, but these characters who we've grown to love throughout the runtime have to be let go of. It might be a stretch to suggest this, but the colors red and blue could also symbolize that gap between human and digital copy. Blue represents the human who initially connected to this program, and red is anything from their digital human copy to a sentient AI. Either way, Kane's clearly lost the plot on what his meaning even is here, as he treats the whole situation like one big game that he has to build. That is my ultimate prediction for the Amazing Digital Circus. Be sure to leave your own theories and predictions in the comments below before we see what really happens in the end, and if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Your listening and interest means the world to me, and it's why I do what I do. Anyways, I've been Jay, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!